Hey, Dave O'Sullivan here with another training. So, if you don't know me, my name is Dave. I help private practice therapists have the confidence to help any patient who walks through the door using a simple pro sport step-by-step system so that ultimately you can enjoy a fully booked diary of happy progressive patients. You can enjoy your job and you can become that go-to physio in your town. Now, here's what you can expect in every single episode that I'm doing over the next 6 weeks. I can promise that I will deliver one thing that you can implement in your clinical practice today that's going to help you, your patients, and also give you an edge over your competition. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to cover the one question that must be going through your mind as you now go through the objective assessment. Okay, so there's one simple question. Now, why do we like questions? We like questions because questions focus our mind. And if you were like me when I was starting out, I'd go into the objective assessment and I'd be very scattered. I'd be all over the place. I'd be inconsistent. I'd be just doing random tests and all of that. Now, if you recall from yesterday's lesson, we asked the patient in the subjective assessment, finish this sentence. I've never been quite the same since. Now that's going to give us clues going into the objective assessment. Okay, so when you go into the objective assessment, this one question that you're going to ask yourself, it's going to change everything. Okay, because as I said, the question needs to be top of mind, and I want you today, when you're going through your objective assessments, I want you asking yourself this question throughout your assessments with every single patient, even if it's a patient who has had their initial assessment already and are in their third or fourth session. Okay, so when you're rechecking things at the start of the session, use this question. So what the question is what isn't happening that if it was happening, the symptoms would disappear for good. Okay, so I'll repeat that question again. What isn't happening, what is not happening, that if it was happening, the symptoms would disappear for good. Okay, so I'll give you an example. So if somebody with a toe touch, as they're going to touch their toes, you might find that they don't have a lot of rib cage depression. Okay, so they're not mobilizing their diaphragm, they're not retracting their rib cage, they're not utilizing their upper back as they go to touch their toes. So as they go to touch their toes, they're essentially touching the toes in lumbar extension. Okay, so their lower back muscles are doing a lot of work as they go to touch their toes, when in fact it should be relaxing. Okay, so then with that scenario, asking yourself the question as you look at that toe touch, you're going to say, okay, what isn't happening here that if it was happening, it would cause the symptoms to disappear. Okay, now you could look at that another way as well. Okay, you could say, okay, is the hamstrings doing enough work on the deceleration to the toe touch? Okay, and if the hamstrings were doing more work, would that take the symptoms away? Okay, so how do we know where to start? That all happened in the subjective assessment. Okay, so that's why it's so important that you have a really solid subjective assessment. You've got a framework that you can ask the questions to make sense of the true cause of the problem by making sense of your patient's story. And then we go into the objective assessment. This is the first part of the objective assessment here. So we're focusing our brain with questions as we go through the objective assessment, and then we're going to go deeper into the objective assessment then obviously as the patient performs these movements, when we put them on the bed, and other bits as well, which I'll cover in additional lessons. Okay, so the one question that I want you to implement today when you go through your assessments with every patient, I want you this question top of mind. I want you asking yourself this question as the patient is performing the movement. What isn't happening that if it was happening, it would cause the symptoms to disappear? And then for a bonus, that if it was happening, it would cause the symptoms to disappear and it would pass the test of time. So what I mean by that is that when we fix this issue, that actually when the patient goes back into the real world, that it will pass the test of time, that it's not just a quick fix. Okay, so if you want a little extra help putting this strategy together, okay, while learning more strategies that ultimately are going to help you become a confident go-to physio that can help any patient who walks through the door, then the Pro Sports step-by-step treatment plan will give you exactly that. It'll give you the confidence and the certainty to treat any patient who comes through your door and keep them progressing all the way through to the final session, so that you can ultimately get that recognition that you deserve as that go-to physio. Okay, it's also going to show you how to design treatment plans that make a massive difference in your patients' lives, a value-based treatment plan. And it's the most simple and direct way to grow your career and your clinic while giving your patients the best possible care. Okay, so I've got 24 slots for July. Okay, we've got a brand new cohort starting. If that's of interest to you, drop me a message below. Okay, if you want in, as I said, I've got room for 24 therapists in the next mentorship cohort. And if you want a solid framework that's going to give you the confidence to treat any patient who comes through your door, it's going to help your referrals because you're going to be able to get results with patients. It's going to increase your patient numbers, your rebook rates, all of those things as well. But most importantly, it's going to decrease the stress that you will experience as a therapist in private practice to give you the confidence and clarity to become that go-to physio. Okay, so if you want more information, drop